my channel, According to Kat. If you are new here, please introduce yourself in the comments below. If you're returning, just say hi. And what are we going to be making today? Okay everyone, today we are making 5 all new Christmas DIYs. I used Dollar Tree, Dollar General, and Recyclables to make this very cost effective, and I love how all 5 of these turned out. If you would like to see how I made all of them, make sure you stay tuned. If you'd like to know what supplies I've used, check out the description box below. And with all that being said, let's get right into the video. Okay, DIY number 1, Oh Holy Night sign. So the first thing I did was I took this piece of wood I got from a yard sale for $1 and the Dollar Tree sanding sponge, and I gave it a good sanding just to take some of that varnish off. Then I wiped it with a baby wipe. Now I am taking this nativity scene that I got from Dollar General. I really loved this. There were like 6 or 7 pieces and I got it for $3. You can see there are the wise men and some animals. However, I just wanted Joseph, Mary, and Jesus on it. So I put the others aside and the base, and I will use the base in our next project. Now I am going to take my Waverly Chalk Paint in white and give this intentionally a very bad coat of paint. I want it to look distressed without actually distressing it. Now I am taking these Dollar Tree letter stickers and I am going to spell out Oh Holy Night. I'm going to put it on the right side, and I left the manger there just to see how far over I need it to go. Whenever I want to make my letter straight, I like to use the Dollar Tree square. It really helps me keep them where I want them, how I want them, and it's a really good technique. So I just put the letters right at the top of the square. You can see how I'm doing that, and I kind of line the bottom up with those little markings on the square or the ruler part of it. And once I just line it all up on the bottom, you could see how I pressed it down, and then I pull the square out from underneath. And again, I'm going to do that with night. You can see I'm pushing the tops down and then just kind of hold my hand all over all the letters while I pull out the ruler part of it. At this point, I realized I would like the manger to stand out a little more. So I take my Waverly antique wax and I am giving it a light coat of it. You can see my makeup sponge is very old and it is just literally falling apart as I wipe the stain on the wood piece. So I just go all over and show you how messy I am when I craft, and I'm getting all the edges because there's a lot of like little indentions and little hidey areas, so make sure you get all around there. And once it dried, which is pretty fast, that's why I like to use this instead of stain, it dries very quickly. I took my Dollar Tree sanding sponge and I gave it a good sanding, especially on the edges, and it really gave this a good dimension because it looked really flat before I did this. And I love how that turned out once I sanded it. So I'm taking my Waverly Chalk Paint in white and doing a dry brushing right on top of the letters just to make them a little less shiny and perfect since everything else is distressed. And you could see it's a very light coat. I'll show you right here. But it just takes away some of that crisp black. Okay, so now I'm kind of judging where I would like the manger on here. And I decide I'm going to see where I want to put the, I don't want to say greenery because it's not greenery, but the embellishments on the bottom before I glue on the wooden piece. So that's kind of where I would like to put those stick to like objects from Dollar Tree. I'm just using hot glue and that worked just fine. I lined it up, tried to keep it as straight as I could. And there we go. So I'm going to use hot glue for the bottom as well. And I'm just putting like a little dollop right at the edges of both sides of those sticks. Those are from the Dollar Tree and I like them. They look really snowy. And yeah, they kind of like shed a little bit, but not too much. Now the sticks kind of came off a little too far. So I'm just trimming them up. I let them stick off a little bit, but not too far. Now I'm taking this burlap, I don't want to say ribbon, but it's like a burlap roll, and I like it because it looks really rustic, the way it kind of frays. So I am taking a piece and tying it in a knot. I decided on the knot rather than the bow, just because it's at the bottom of the piece and I like the way that looked. At first I did twine around the middle, and then I didn't like that, so then I went for the knot and made it a little bit longer. And I really like how that looks. So I just cut off any excess on the ends, and I'm going to hot glue that in place. You can see I'm getting my pine cones ready because I really liked that natural element of the pine cones with the rest of the sign. But before then, I'm going to take my Dollar Tree pick. I love this pick because I love this greenery that's on it. I love long needle faux greenery. I just like the way that looks. And I'm taking some of the pine cones off of that one and another one. I'm hot gluing that evergreen sprig right there at the top of that knot. And then I will take the pine cones and glue it right on the other side of where the letters are. And I actually added some small ones in as well that were also from the Dollar Tree. Or you can use whatever you have. If you'd like to use berries, you can do that. Whatever you see fit. But I really liked all the natural elements of this. And there we go. I really love how this turned out. I hope you like this as much as I do.
Sleigh bells are ringing out by the sea, sending a message of love and sympathy. I've been waiting by the phone, and this song will meet you at the door. This Christmas will be something unreal.
Moving on to DIY number 2, block snowman. So the first thing I did was took this very nice wood craft cube from Dollar Tree, as well as this wooden block. Now that is from those little drawers from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just using the outside piece. Now I'm taking some Waverly Chalk Paint in white, and I am giving both of these blocks a good coat. And just make sure you get all sides. Now, before I go on with this, I would like to tell you about my very good friend, Wendy from White Sparrow, living here on YouTube. First of all, she is not only the most amazing person, but she has the most amazing channel with some creativity like you've never seen before. I love to watch her. I love to listen to her. I was talking to her on the phone the other night, and I just could not stop laughing because she is hysterical and she is such an awesome person. Make sure you go check out her channel. And if you are new here, my name is Kat and welcome to my channel. I love to create decor on a budget using Dollar Tree, recyclables, thrift store products, and I would love for you to stick around and be a part of my channel, so please consider subscribing. And let's move back on to the crafts. So once the paint dried on these 2 cubes, I just went back with some Dollar Tree sandpaper and sanded off the edges just to give it more of a distressed look. You don't need to do this if you don't want. Now I'm just finding the best sides of those cubes, and I'm taking this Dollar Tree scarf. I will cut off the bottom section because I want to use the fringe, and now I'm going to cut that down the middle. So then I will have 2 pieces. So I'm going to join them together by just taking another little piece of that scarf, putting those 2 pieces together with some glue, and then I will take that little extra piece, roll it up, and kind of just join that all together. Cutting off any excess here and just rolling that up. Oh, and I forgot to mention where I was finding the best sides of the cubes together. That is when I glued the 2 cubes together as well. So I am now going to take where that knot is, and that is going to be my starting place of where I'm going to glue down the scarf. And then I'm just going to wrap it right around and just tuck that up through and just kind of fold it over on itself. Put a little hot glue there just to hold that all in place. Now you can see the scarf is a little long on him, but I actually liked that. So you might want to check it if you don't want it to be that long. You might want to check it before you join the two pieces together, but I'm just cutting off some of the extra fringe, and I am going to raise that snowman up a bit, so it's okay if it's a little too long, but I still like the way it looks. Now I'm taking those Dollar Tree, what are those called? Like little felt ball. Are they felt balls? Felt balls? I think they're felt balls. Now I'm taking one of those extra strings off of that scarf, and I'm going to put it right over his head because I'm going to be making earmuffs with those. It's not felt. What are they called? Fuzzball. No, they're not. Are they fuzzy? I don't know. They're from the Dollar Tree. Yeah. So I'm using two of the larger red ones, and I'm just hot gluing those on as well. And he's so cute just like this. Now I was debating on what I wanted to do for the nose, but I love a good, I don't know, branch for the nose. I think it's so cute. I'm just making sure it's straight on the bottom. And now I'm just taking a paint marker. You can use a Sharpie, whatever you have, and just making two dots. Now they are not even, and I love that they are not even. So if you want the eyes to be perfect, then by all means do so. If you want him to have a mouth, do so. But I loved him just like this. He had his own little personality. Now I'm taking these two buttons. They were from a pack that I got from Dollar Tree a while ago, and I am just hot gluing those on, and I only do two of them because of spacing. It just fit the best. And I loved those buttons because they had like little speckles on it. Now I'm taking this ornament from Dollar Tree, and I'm just taking off the part where it says "Let It Snow." And at first I thought I was going to use this wooden crate from Dollar Tree, and then I decided on the tray looking one. And I'm taking some Waverly Chalk Paint in Elephant, which is a very dark gray, and I love this color, and I am giving this a good coat, and I'm going to put it aside to dry. Make sure you get all sides. I did not do underneath because I didn't really need to, but I got into those handles just to make sure that's all covered. There you go. And once that dried, I am taking some of these like sparkly snowflakes from the Dollar Tree. I think you get 6 in the bunch, and I'm going to put them right there at the bottom on the base, and I'm trying to line up where I want my Let It Snow before I hot glue it. And if I do it wrong, then I'm going to have a problem. So I just kind of space everything out where I want it. And now I'm taking that hot glue, putting it right there on the back. If you want something more permanent, you can use some Fix-All from the Dollar Tree, E6000, something like that. But hot glue worked for me. You could even use wood glue on that. Now I am taking those sparkly snowflakes, and I am just hot gluing those right on either side of the Let It Snow. They also have those in silver. I had those as well, but I really liked the all white. And now I made 2 little bows out of, I think it's like kitchen twine from the Dollar Tree, like string. And I'm just putting a dab of hot glue right at the top where those holes are, and just putting that little bow right at the top. Now that's just like how you tie your shoe, nothing special. So I want to attach my snowman to the base, and because there's only a small ridge right around, I didn't want to see all that glue first of all, and I was afraid he wouldn't stick very well. So I just thought those tumbling blocks from Dollar Tree were a good solution. So I'm just hot gluing those all around. The front section, I didn't have enough room for another tumbling block, so I used one of the wooden squares or cubes from the Dollar Tree. And now I'm just putting hot glue on all of those pieces that I just put on the inside, and then lining this up and pressing it down. And you can see how his scarf is kind of hanging, but it looks really cute hanging over and around that base. Oh my gosh, do I love him. Yes, I do. I love snowman decorations. I love him. I hope you like it as much as I do.
let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing. Yeah, isn't that amazing? In Christmas times, we'll be chilling and having a good time.
Next up, DIY number 3, wooden tree display. So the first thing I did was I took this loose paper that I've had for a while that's had some holly on it. Then this pack of paper I got from Joann Fabrics a while ago, and this has the red and the green have polka dots, but you can't really see them. They're like gray polka dots. And that plaid paper I had for a while as well. I took 4 of these wooden trees from the Dollar Tree, and I am just taking off the hanging parts. Now I'm going to cut some of these. Well, 3 of them to be exact. I am just taking my ruler and cutting off the trunk of one. Now I'm cutting them all in different places. So the trunk of one. One I'm going to leave alone. I put that aside. The next one, I go up a little further, and I'm taking my craft knife and I am running it along right there at the bottom just to give me a different height for this tree. Okay, so I just went back and forth until I could break it off. Super easy. Okay, now the last one I went up even higher, and I am scoring it right there, and then I'm going to break off the bottom, and now I have the smallest of the 4 trees. And it's okay if it's not perfect at the bottom, because we're going to be covering it up with that paper I just showed you. And now you can see all the staggered heights, and that's what I wanted. So I took my first piece of paper and I am tracing my tree right there, and I'm going to cut that out. Now, it doesn't need to be perfect because we will be sanding off any excess, and that will make it pretty good to go. And remember, if you are liking this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps my video, and it helps my channel, and it lets me know what you want more of. Okay, so now I'm taking a regular glue stick. You can get these at the Dollar Tree, and you are just going to run over that whole piece of wood and just put on that scrap paper. Now, the reason I didn't use Mod Podge, I don't always have the best luck with Mod Podge. I get lots of bubbles, and usually I will use a spray adhesive, but I wanted to do the glue stick because I saw some of my friends recently using glue sticks, and I was like, yeah, I might as well try that again. I haven't used a glue stick in a while. So some of my friends like Kristen Kay and Nicole from the Week's Nest, they used the glue sticks recently. So yeah, I gave it a try, and I did like the way it turned out. Now I am just taking my scissor, going right around my next part, again using my glue stick, and putting that right on top. And then I'll just go back with my file and take off any of that excess paper that's kind of hanging over the edge. Okay. And then here is my largest of the trees, and I went on with my plaid paper and just kind of lined that up. Went over all my little edges where I wanted a little more secured. I went back with my hot glue, and then my red piece with the polka dots. And all of these I went back with my sanding sponge from the Dollar Tree. Now I'm taking my antique wax from Waverly, and I am going to distress the edges. This makes this a very, I don't want to say it's like a primitive looking craft, but to me it is like a primitive looking craft. You know, like what I mean, like that primitive decor. That's what it reminded me of. Especially once I antiqued the edges. And you can see I'm going right around all of these trees. I really like how the antique wax looked on the edges. And then it covers up any areas if you got a little too heavy-handed with your sanding sponge. Not saying I did, but I did. So I'm going right around. I really love how the antique wax looked on the one with the holly. I like that one. Okay, now I'm using that base from that nativity scene that I used prior from Dollar General, and this is where I'm going to put my trees. So I am going to hot glue this right in place, And you can see I kind of made it off the edge a little bit because I just want to stagger all the trees and fit them all on. And I think at that point I put a little piece of a popsicle stick right there on the back to hold that up where I just put the glue. Now I'm taking the smallest of the trees and I will put it right here in the front. Putting some glue in the back just to hold it up, and a little piece of a popsicle stick. If you don't have that, you can use anything. You can use a tumbling block from the Dollar Tree, whatever you have. Now I'm going to put in the red tree, and I'm putting it right in that line right there. You can see the piece of the popsicle stick on the green tree. You see that there? How I just kind of like hot glued that in. And then the last one, now this was the tallest, and I put him in the same line as the red one. Now I'm taking some Dollar Tree little jingle bells and I'm going to put them at the top of each of the trees. You could make them all the same color, change the colors. I did red, green, and silver, and I don't know, whatever I thought looked the best. Then I noticed the silver is a little shiny for me, so I do go back with some antique wax in a minute. You'll see that, just to tone that down a bit. But I really like the way that looked. Now I'm taking this berry garland. I use the red one. Now this is where it gets really primitive looking to me. Primitive decor type of craft. Is I started wrapping this around. I thought that was going to be a good idea, wrap it around the whole thing. It wasn't. So what I did was I cut pieces and I tucked and hot glued on the back. Maybe you can figure out a better way to wrap it around, but when I was doing it, it kind of just got weird once I went to the next one, and then I don't know. So you can see I'm cutting it up at this point, and I'm just kind of making like little hooks, and then I hook it around, and then I stuff it in, make another hook on the other side. Now don't do what I did. This was an afterthought. It was a little plain for me and I didn't know what I was going to do, but put on the garland, the berry garland, before you put it all together. I did it, like I said, as an afterthought, and it was a little more difficult to put it on. I mean, it wasn't hard. It just was, you know, I had to like finagle my garland in between all those pieces. And that's right here is where I am kind of de-shining those bells a bit. And so cute. I love this. Now I am taking these Dollar Tree tumbling blocks and I'm going to put 3 of them right along the front with a little hot glue. This is going to be a base where I can hot glue my wooden word to. The wooden word I used was peace, and this is from the Dollar Tree in the crafting section, and you can see it fits perfectly right on there, and I glued that right on the front. And at this point I thought, okay, I'm going to be done. No, I wasn't happy with it. So I went and I made a knot out of that crafting, not ribbon. What did I call that before? Burlap? My craft burlap roll. And then I took one of these wooden stickers from the Dollar Tree. It's in the shape of a tree because why not have one more tree, right? So I glued him right on the front. I actually turned him around so you wouldn't see all of like the wood burning on it. I wanted it more plain. And then I thought it still needed something else because I wanted to hide that base. So I took some of these Dollar Tree berries and I just tucked them in after I cut off any excess of those pieces. And then I put a little hot glue at the bottom as well to hold those in place. Only a little bit of hot glue because you will see it and it might melt the berries because they're foam. You know what I mean. And this is done. I hope you like this as much as I do.
Making our Christmas memories. I've been working so much lately, I can barely find the time to sleep. Yeah, I spend my time running around, keeping people pleased. But this is my favorite holiday. It's a chance to start over.
And now we're at DIY number 4, holiday arrangement. So the first thing I did was I took this glass jar that I would normally recycle and these socks from the Dollar Tree. You only need one of them. It's kind of like a gray, I don't know, gray and black striations. I love it. I just put the sock right around the glass jar And the top of the sock is going to be at the top of the jar. I cut off the foot of the sock, and I am now going to hot glue that in place. And just try to not put too much at the bottom because the jar can be rocky then. So I just made sure I made it as flat as I could, and then it was fine. There you go. And now I want to put a little hot glue at the top to make sure the top of the sock stays in place. So I just pulled that all the way down, and I just did a thin line right around the rim of the jar and just pulled up the sock. Perfect. So at this point I was deciding what I wanted to put around this sock jar, and there were so many great options. That little snowflake one, this one's beautiful. I ended up going with this one. Now this is a plaid ribbon from the Dollar Tree, and it's gorgeous. They have it this year as well, and I loved the greens and the red and the cream and the gold. Just loved it all together. Cut a piece, and I'm going to wrap that around the middle. And this is where I was a little unsure what I was going to do next. I love to take you on my journey with me, because when I am crafting, I don't know ahead of time exactly what I'm going to do. Like I have like a gist, an idea, like, oh, I want to make an arrangement, or I want to do this. So I like to show you like how I'm thinking when I'm crafting. So you could see I'm trying different ribbons around the middle, but then I didn't like how it was covering up the green of that ribbon there. So I was like, I don't want to do that. So I took this wooden sticker from the Dollar Tree. It is a snowflake, and I love this sticker. And I use hot glue. Don't use the sticker part because it won't stick. Even though it's a sticker, it just won't stick. It's not sticky. How many times did I say stick in that sentence? Okay, now I am taking some twine from the Dollar Tree and I'm burning it. You see how fuzzy it was? I'm going to show you the difference now. That's why I burn it. Some people ask, why do you burn it? That's why. But just make sure if you don't feel comfortable with it, don't do it. And if you do it, make sure you have like a bottle of water there just to be safe. Now I'm just wrapping it around the top of it, I think 3 times. And I am letting the 2 strings hang off, and that's where I'm going to tie my bells. Now, these bells I got from a thrift store for like 60 cents, like a whole bag of them, like not a whole, like a little bag of them. But you can also use the Dollar Tree bells as well. But I chose to use these because they're a little smaller, and I liked them because they're more of like, I don't know, like a goldy, silvery, goldy brass type of muted look. I don't know, I like them. So I am just tying knots on those and then cutting off any excess, but I could see some of that where I cut it hanging. So I just take my hot glue, just like put a tiny bit, and just with my fingers molded it together. Couldn't even see anything anymore. It was perfect, just how I wanted it. And there you go. I love how that turned out. So now I have to decide what I want to fill it with. So I take out my pick from the Dollar Tree because I love this pick. And this green bunch that I got from Joann Fabrics, this was $6.99, but I probably got it 70% off. I get my greens and florals so cheap from Joann Fabrics when they're having a sale. And you can see I'm just kind of stuffing in 2 picks there. And at first, I'm just finagling with it, and then putting in a couple pine cones that had fallen off. And then I have 1 extra piece. I got this little wooden pick from Dollar General for $1, and it's like a little red truck with some Christmas trees on the back, and I just stuck that right inside. Then I was realizing, oh, I don't really like these holly on here. I don't know. I just didn't like the way it looked with the rest of the arrangement. So I just cut that off real quick. And now I'm just moving things around to where I like it. And I'm adding 1 more pine cone right there in the front. And I hope you like this as much as I do.
Well, I'm all for Christmas, all the happy smiles and the wishes. And I want it all, from the lights to the mistletoe. Tell me one thing.
And last but not least, we are on DIY number 5, snowflake ornament. And I am just using some clothespins from the Dollar Tree. I will take these all apart. You need 8 of them because you need 8 little spokes of your snowflake. And now I take them and I'm going to hot glue them together, point to point, just like this. So you're basically taking the clothespin and putting it backwards without that little metal piece. So point to point, base to base. And I just went through all 8 of those clothespins, or 16 parts, making 8 parts. You know what I mean. Now I am taking my hot glue and I'm going to take 4 of those, what do I want to call them? Arms? Are they like snowflake arms? Let's call them arms. I'm taking 4 of the arms and putting them together to make a cross or an X. And you can see how I did that. Just hot glue worked fine for me. You can use something more permanent if you would like. Now I am taking some hot glue, putting it right in one of those crease sections, and I'm going to put another snowflake arm. And I do that to all of those open areas. And just go back with the final 2 snowflake arms. I can't with this. Okay, and here's the last one. Now I was really careful about, keeping the glue clean, but you will cover up the middle section of this. Now you can paint this at this point if you want, but I didn't want to. I want to keep it a natural look, so I am going to keep it just like this. So I am taking that burlap, why do I keep forgetting, the burlap craft roll, and I'm going to cut a little piece off, take a piece of twine, tie it around the middle, and kind of make a little pretend bow out of it. You can knot it if you want, but I didn't want the knot to stick too far off of the ornament. Actually, I think I might use them for the teacher gifts that I give my kids' teachers, just to put on the top of the present, whatever we choose to get them, or if I get them a gift card, I can just put it with the gift card. So that's that little bag I was telling you about that I got for 60 cents from the thrift store, and I just like them. But I'm showing you here how you can just use some of the Dollar Tree small bells, just like that. See how that looks? Now I am taking my twine, threading it right through there, and then wrapping it right around the bow. You could hot glue it on, but I liked it just wrapped around like that and knotted it. And now I'm making the piece to hang it with. Now I took one of the longer spokes, and that's where I just hot glued that string right on the back after I made my loop. I'm using my fingers for everything. Bad idea. I didn't really burn myself though. My glue gun doesn't get as hot as my old one did. I used to burn myself like crazy. So I am putting a little hot glue on there, pressing that in place, and I knew it still needed something. So I decided to get my black ribbon out, my check ribbon. Now this bunch here is from Hobby Lobby, and I think it was $9.99, but 40% off. Not too bad a deal for all that ribbon. And I just took this check or buffalo check, whatever you want to call it, ribbon, and I'm just making a simple bow. I know Dollar Tree has this, but I can't seem to find it. I'm burning my edges just to make sure the ribbon doesn't fray. And then I was going to put it on just like this, and I'm like, nope, still needs something. So I go back to that little stash and I take this one. I'm like, no, too much. So then I go back to the stash and I decide on the plain black. And I just make, again, a simple bow, cut off any excess. I did burn those. I don't show it, the edges of it. And now I'm just going to hot glue that in place. Now I'm going to take the buffalo check bow and put a dab of hot glue on that. And this is where I double my bows. And that is what I wanted. Is exactly what I wanted. Again, you could paint this while I'm burning that. Probably not the best idea since the whole entire ornament is made of wood. Love it though. So cute. And this is where I make the second one because I have 2 kids and then there's 2 teachers. and you can see how cute these look together. I am so in love with these. Rustic and natural looking. Love it. Hope you like this as much as I do.
Angels we have heard on high, sweetly singing o'er the plains, and the mountains in reply, echoing their joyous strains. Gloria in excelsis Deo.
So here we are at the final reveal, my favorite part of the video, because we get to recap everything we just made. So the first thing we made was the Oh Holy Night sign. I love how this turned out, and I would love to put it on my mantle. So pretty. Then we have the snowman out of the wood blocks. He is just ridiculously cute. And if you haven't seen my last snowman on my last video, make sure you go see that. Love him. Then we have the Christmas trees. Very primitive looking and pretty. I just love that. And next we had the jar with the sock, or just let's call it the holiday arrangement. I really liked that one more than I thought I would. It's like one of my top ones. And then last but not least, we have the little ornaments or present toppers, whatever you want to call those. And I love those as well. So tell me, which one of these is your favorite? I'm gonna go with the snowman. I'm sorry I keep picking the snowman in every one of my videos, but I just love him. He just has such a little personality. Tell me in the comments which one's yours. Remember to go check out my good friend Wendy and make sure you tell her I sent you. I'm telling you, you will not regret it. She is amazing. Thanks, guys. So that's it. That's the end of my video. I hope you liked everything you saw today, and I hope it inspires you to make something of your own. If you have not checked me out at Instagram over at Cat Luna Designs, please do so. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. It really helps my channel. If you haven't subscribed, I would love if you did. And as always, thanks for watching. Bye. Hi, welcome back to my channel, According to Cat. If you have not checked me out at Instagram over Cat Luda, Luda. It's not even a word. It's not even my name.